Every housekeeper who stepped through the towering iron gates of Ashwood Manor lasted less than a single day. One maid burst into tears after having an expensive designer handbag thrown at her because the morning coffee was too warm. Another quietly packed her suitcase before sunset after the billionaire's daughter forced her to scrub the marble staircase with a toothbrush while recording the humiliation on social media. The most shocking resignation came from Chef Antonio, a Michelin-star-trained chef who had cooked for presidents and celebrities. After spending 6 hours preparing a luxurious 7-course dinner for an important charity gala, the billionaire's 18-year-old daughter looked at the beautifully plated meal, picked up the entire tray, and dumped every dish into the garbage. Then she smiled. "I don't eat food made by slow people." The guests watched in stunned silence. Chef Antonio removed his apron, placed it neatly on the kitchen counter, and walked away without saying another word. He never returned. Outside the mansion, people whispered that Ashwood Manor was cursed. Some believed strange things happened inside those luxurious walls. Others claimed no employee could survive the family for long. But the staff knew the truth. The mansion wasn't haunted. It was ruled by Olivia Ashwood. At 18 years old, Olivia possessed everything money could buy. Designer clothes filled 3 walk-in closets. Luxury sports cars lined the private garage. A personal theater. An indoor spa. Private tutors. Bodyguards. Unlimited credit cards. Yet nothing was ever enough. She believed every person around her existed for one purpose: to obey her, every command, every mood, every unreasonable demand. If breakfast arrived 1 minute late, she threw it away. If flowers weren't her favorite color, she ordered them burned. If an employee looked tired, she accused them of being lazy. The servants no longer worked with pride. They worked with fear. Every morning began with the same silent prayer: "Please don't let Miss Olivia notice me today." Olivia's father, William Ashwood, had built one of the largest construction companies in America. In business, he was respected for his discipline and fairness. Millions admired his leadership. Thousands worked for him. But inside his own home, he couldn't control his only daughter. 10 years earlier, William had lost his beloved wife, Eleanor, after a long illness. Olivia had been only 8 years old. The little girl who once loved painting butterflies and feeding stray kittens disappeared almost overnight. Unable to bear watching his daughter cry, William made himself a promise: she will never suffer again. Whenever Olivia cried, he bought her gifts. Whenever she threw a tantrum, he canceled the punishment. Whenever teachers complained, he defended her. Whenever employees quit, he blamed the employees. Year after year, love slowly became indulgence. Before we continue, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? And what's the weather like in your city today? If you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and type "kindness wins" in the comments. Indulgence became entitlement. Entitlement became cruelty. William never noticed when comforting his grieving daughter slowly turned into fearing her anger. One rainy evening, the mansion's longtime head housekeeper, Mrs. Evelyn Brooks, entered William's study carrying a broken porcelain vase. It had belonged to his late wife. William immediately recognized it. Eleanor's favorite vase. He whispered. Mrs. Brooks nodded sadly. Miss Olivia smashed it because her imported perfume hadn't arrived before lunch. William closed his eyes. He didn't ask how it happened. He already knew. After a long silence, Mrs. Brooks quietly placed a small envelope on his desk. "What is this?" "My resignation, sir." William looked up in disbelief. "You've been with our family for 12 years. "I know, and I love this family." Tears gathered in the elderly woman's eyes. "But I can no longer watch that little girl destroy herself." William's heart sank. "She's just hurting." Mrs. Brooks gently shook her head. "No, sir. Hurt children deserve compassion. Cruel adults need boundaries. The longer no one tells her no, the harder life will." William stared silently at the resignation letter. For the first time in years, someone had spoken the truth he had been avoiding. 3 days later, another applicant arrived at Ashwood Manor. She carried only one worn brown suitcase. No expensive jewelry. No fashionable clothes. just a neatly pressed gray uniform and a calm smile that somehow made the enormous mansion feel smaller. Her name was Maria Santos. She had traveled thousands of miles, leaving behind her small hometown and the people she loved for one simple reason: to work. As the massive gate slowly opened, the security guards exchanged sympathetic looks. Another housekeeper, another victim. Neither of them realized she would become the one person Olivia Ashwood could never intimidate. The following morning, Ashwood Manor awakened beneath a blanket of golden sunlight. The kitchen buzzed with quiet urgency. Fresh croissants came out of the ovens. Silverware sparkled beneath crystal chandeliers. Housekeepers hurried through the marble hallways, each hoping to finish their work before Miss Olivia woke up. Nobody spoke above a whisper. Everyone knew one thing: if Olivia was in a bad mood, the entire mansion would suffer. Only one person appeared completely at peace. Maria Santos carefully arranged fresh white lilies in the dining room, humming a soft melody from her childhood. Her movements were calm, unhurried, graceful. It puzzled the other servants. One young maid approached her nervously. "Mrs. Maria?" Maria smiled warmly. "Yes." "You should leave while you still can." Maria tilted her head. "Why?" "Because Miss Olivia enjoys making people quit." Maria simply folded another napkin. "I didn't travel halfway around the world to be frightened by an unhappy girl." The maid blinked. Nobody had ever described Olivia that way. Not cruel, not spoiled, just unhappy. Upstairs, Olivia finally opened her eyes. She glanced at the designer clock beside her bed, 12:43 p.m. She stretched lazily before shouting loudly enough for the entire floor to hear, "Somebody bring me breakfast." No answer. Her expression darkened. "Hello." Still silence. Furious, Olivia stormed downstairs wearing an expensive silk robe. The servants froze as she entered the dining hall. She looked around. Where is everyone? Maria stepped forward politely. "Good afternoon, Miss Olivia." Olivia frowned. "It's morning." Maria smiled gently. "The clock says otherwise." Several servants quickly lowered their heads to hide their shocked expressions. Olivia slowly turned toward Maria. "What did you just say?" "I said good afternoon." "I don't care what time your little watch says. My breakfast should already be waiting." Maria nodded. It was... Olivia crossed her arms. "What do you mean?" "Breakfast was served at 9 o'clock. It is nearly 1. We prepared lunch now." For several seconds, the room became perfectly silent. Nobody had ever corrected Olivia. Ever. She laughed sarcastically. "So you're the new maid. I heard about you." Maria nodded politely. "My name is Maria." Olivia stepped closer. "You won't last until dinner." Maria's smile never disappeared. "I've survived hurricanes, poverty, and losing people I love." She looked kindly into Olivia's eyes. "I think I'll survive today." Those words landed like stones. There was no fear, no trembling, no apology. Olivia suddenly felt strangely uncomfortable. She hated it. Lunch was served. The staff stood quietly against the wall as Olivia examined every plate. She took one bite, then another. Without warning, she pushed the entire plate onto the marble floor. Crash! Porcelain shattered everywhere. Soup splashed across the expensive carpet. Several maids instinctively stepped backward. Olivia leaned back in her chair with a satisfied smile. "Clean it." Everyone looked toward Maria. This was always the moment. Every housekeeper apologized. Every housekeeper cleaned the mess. Every housekeeper cried. Maria looked down at the broken dishes. Then she looked back at Olivia. Her voice remained calm. No, the word wasn't loud, but it echoed through the enormous dining room. Olivia blinked. "What?" "You dropped the plate." "No, you threw it." Olivia stood abruptly. "Excuse me." Maria walked toward the cleaning closet. The servants expected her to return with a broom. Instead, she returned carrying a dustpan, a broom, and a clean towel. She placed them gently beside Olivia's chair. "You made the mess." Maria smiled kindly. "You may clean it now." Every servant stopped breathing. Olivia stared at the cleaning tools. as though they had insulted her personally. "You must be insane." Maria shook her head. "No, Miss Olivia. I simply believe every person should be responsible for their own actions." Olivia laughed bitterly. "My father owns this mansion. My family pays your salary." Maria nodded. "That is true. But money pays for my work. It does not purchase my dignity." The word struck the room like thunder. Hidden behind the dining room doorway, William Ashwood had heard everything. He had been walking toward lunch when Olivia's shouting caught his attention. Now he stood completely still, listening, watching. For years, he had watched employees surrender to Olivia's tantrums. Today, for the first time, someone had refused without raising their voice. Olivia's face turned crimson. She grabbed a crystal pitcher filled with fresh orange juice. With one violent motion, she threw it onto the floor. The crystal exploded into hundreds of glittering pieces. Orange juice spread across the white marble. It splashed onto Maria's uniform. Several maids gasped. Olivia folded her arms. "Now clean that." Maria quietly looked down at her stained dress. She took a handkerchief from her pocket and gently wiped a few drops from her sleeve. Then she looked at Olivia. "No, you broke it. You'll clean it." Olivia's hands trembled with anger. "No one says no to me." Maria's eyes were filled with kindness rather than fear. "Perhaps that's why no one has truly helped you." Those words pierced deeper than any insult. For just a brief second, Olivia saw something she hadn't expected. Pity, not fear, not hatred, compassion. She looked away first, unable to meet Maria's eyes. That afternoon, Olivia decided she would make Maria regret staying. She secretly poured muddy water over the freshly polished hallway. She scattered expensive clothes across her bedroom immediately after Maria organized everything. She deliberately knocked over flower vases moments after they had been arranged. Yet every single time, Maria simply smiled. She never complained, never argued, never showed anger. It only frustrated Olivia more. Late that evening, one of the younger maids finally asked Maria, "How can you stay so calm?" Maria looked out the window toward the setting sun. "My grandmother once told me, if someone hands you anger, you don't have to accept it. If you refuse to carry it, it remains theirs." The young maid quietly smiled. For the first time in years, hope returned to Ashwood Manor. Meanwhile, standing unseen on the upstairs balcony, Olivia had heard every word. She wanted to dismiss them. She wanted to laugh. Instead, for reasons she couldn't explain, those simple words stayed with her long after the mansion fell silent. The next morning, Ashwood Manor felt different. For the first time in years, Olivia didn't wake up shouting. She sat quietly on the edge of her bed, thinking about Maria's words. "Perhaps that's why no one has truly helped you." The sentence echoed in her mind all night. She looked around her enormous bedroom. Designer handbags, luxury jewelry, expensive clothes, everything she had ever wanted. Yet she had never felt so empty. Slowly, she walked downstairs. The staff immediately became tense. Some lowered their heads. Others quietly stepped aside, expecting another outburst. Instead, Olivia stopped in the middle of the dining room. She took a deep breath. "I'm sorry." No one moved. The room was completely silent. Olivia looked toward the cooks, the gardeners, the maids, and finally Maria. "I've treated all of you terribly. I thought money made me better than everyone else. It doesn't." Tears filled her eyes. "I was wrong." One by one, the staff smiled. Several wiped away tears. Maria stepped forward and gently placed a hand on Olivia's shoulder. "It takes great courage to admit you're wrong." Olivia lowered her head. "I don't deserve your kindness after everything I've done." Maria smiled warmly. "Kindness isn't earned by perfection. It begins the moment someone chooses to change." Just then, William Ashwood entered the room. He had heard every word. He walked over and embraced his daughter tightly. "I'm sorry, too," he whispered. "I thought protecting you meant never telling you no. I was wrong." Olivia hugged her father as tears streamed down both their faces. From that day forward, Ashwood Manor slowly transformed. The shouting disappeared. The laughter returned. Employees no longer worked in fear. They worked with pride. Months later, people admired Olivia, not because she was a daughter of a billionaire, but because she greeted every employee by name, thanked them for their hard work, and treated them with genuine respect. As for Maria, she never claimed she had changed Olivia. She simply smiled whenever people asked. Sometimes, she would say, people don't need someone to fear them. They need someone who loves them enough to tell them the truth. And from that day on, Ashwood Manor was no longer remembered as the mansion where every housekeeper quit. It became the home where one brave woman taught a billionaire's daughter that true greatness is measured not by wealth, but by kindness. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to red heart like, speech balloon comment, and bell subscribe for more inspiring stories. Tell us in the comments, what was your favorite lesson from Maria's wisdom? We would love to read your thoughts. Thank you so much for reading this powerful story of transformation and redemption. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to type more in the comments. Share your thoughts on Elena's wisdom, and tell us where you are reading this from. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories that remind us of the beauty of human dignity.